So we're now recording. So good morning, everyone, to the second of our two meditation sessions with Paramananda. So we were with Paramananda yesterday. Some of us, we've got some people coming back into the session who were here yesterday with Paramananda for the session I Sing the Body Electric. And today his session is called the Alchemical Heart, and it will take the same format as yesterday. So he will talk a little bit and then lead us in a meditation. And then at the end, there'll be space for questions and answers. So it's an hour and a half. So we'll be finishing at 12:30. I've got the chat set up so that you can put anything you want in the chat, and I can see if there's any issues or any problems there, and we can use that for questions later if you wish. And I think, without further ado, I can hand over to Paramananda. So if you can unmute yourself, Paramananda, and then you're ready to go. There we go. I think you're unmuted now.
Yeah, lovely. Okay.
Great stuff.
Well, good morning to your Buddha-filled people. I just realised I couldn't remember what poem we had yesterday.
Yesterday we had the Rumi.
Oh, we had the Rumi. Okay, good. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, okay. Anyway, welcome to this session, which is called the Alchemical Heart. Well, I'll just say a few words about why I find this metaphor of alchemy useful as a meditator. I can't go into it in great detail, but just to give you a sense of this way of working. In this way of working, we're sort of imagining the body, our body, as an alchemical vessel. And we're imagining it being a vessel, the body being a vessel of the psyche. So there's a way of attending to the body. It means we're working with our psyche. So we're imagining the psyche as within the whole body rather than an attribute of our brain. Rather, it's an embodied psyche. And this alchemy as a kind of spiritual tradition was in a way rediscovered by Carl Jung, I suppose in the 1930s, I think he first started to get interested in alchemy, and it became a central interest of him as his life went on. And he recognized that in these old European alchemical texts was actually a spiritual path, that they weren't really concerned with the transmutation of lead into gold. They were concerned with the transmutation of human consciousness, or at least in part. Yeah. In a way, they didn't necessarily make a distinction between the work that they did in the world, the alchemical work of working with metals and chemicals and vessels, and the internal work, which is quite interesting in a sense. It's a little bit like, maybe this is stretching it a bit, but a little bit like the Zen tradition, where everyday life is also, of course, our practice. So I think this is what we're beginning to realize as Westerners engaged in spiritual practice now, that actually our practice also has to include our everyday life and the way we live. Of course, this has always been the case. Buddhism has always stressed think more and more we're beginning to realize that our personal transformation, our personal unfolding or opening, whatever we want to call it, is intimately bound up with that of the earth. You know, that actually we're not engaged in some kind of individual redemption anymore. We're engaged in a project of learning to re-enchant the world, re-enchant the earth, and bring back a sense of the sacred into the world. And this was very much the alchemical understanding, really. Alchemical work falls into this broader category of hermeneutics, where in a way the basic, this goes right back to the Egyptians and the ancient Jewish tradition, mystic traditions as well. But the basic idea is as above, so below, and that by working on yourself, you're also working on the cosmos. You're also involved with the cosmic dimension. Yeah, so we're in the microcosm. We work on ourselves. We're working on the microcosm, which is a kind of fractal part of a cosmos, if you like, the macrocosm. So above as below, so it goes both ways. So in alchemy, you could say we're trying to bring spirit back down into matter. I think a lot of people, a lot of modern writers, commentators on what has happened, you know, see that there's this basic split has occurred between matter and what we could call consciousness or spirit. And there needs to be this kind of re-enchantment. And in alchemy, everything has consciousness. The metals they worked with had personalities, you know, had their own consciousness. Everything was alive. So they inhabit, in our imagination, they inhabited a world full of consciousness, full of psyche. Everything was alive. The metals they work with, the chemicals they work with, the processes they engage with both external processes and internal processes. And this separation between the so-called internal and external, or the material and the non-material, was broken down through practice, through repetition, through a very careful abiding with the material you're working with. So when we start to use alchemy as a metaphor for meditation, we're kind of imagining our own bodies as a sort of alchemical vessel. And perhaps particularly we're imagining the heart as a sort of organ that allows transformation to happen. We don't have to stretch the metaphor too far, really. Anyway, we'll do a meditation together, bringing in some of these elements. Obviously, we can only skim the surface today, but you know, intimating that this sort of more alchemical way of working, placing the heart in the center of the practice, if you like. Okay, so if you get yourselves comfortable. So we'll have a meditation, which will be sort of led by myself, obviously. And then we'll have a very short break, and then we'll have a bit of space for any questions or comments or things you might want to say. We'll start with a poem this is a Lorca poem, and it might not be obviously so, but for me it's quite an alchemical poem. One of the things that alchemy uses a lot is colour, and this poem has quite a bit of colour in it, and it also kind of places a heart at the centre of everything. So it's just a very short poem. This is called Ditty of First Desire. In the green morning, I wanted to be a heart, a heart. In the lush evening, I wanted to be a nightingale, a nightingale. Soul, turn orange coloured. Soul, turn the colour of love. In the vivid morning, I wanted to be myself, a heart. At the evening's end, I wanted to be my voice, a nightingale. Soul, turn orange coloured. Soul, turn the colour of love. Let's begin by just taking one or two slightly deeper breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. You might want to make a noise as you breathe out through the mouth. This helps. Just letting the breath settle. And as you let the breath settle, imagine relaxing from the crown of your head all the way through your body, out through what we call the root or the perineum, into the earth below you. So relaxing, we're letting go from crown to root. Just feel into this. This is probably going to be happening on the out breath, this sense of letting go from crown to root. Then on the in breath, we're imagining drawing up from root all the way through the central core, central channel of the body, from root to crown. So there's a kind of subtle drawing up on the in-breath from root to crown, and a subtle letting go down from crown to root on the out-breath. It might be that this process is reversed. Sometimes it reverses itself, so actually we feel like we're releasing down on the in-breath. So just go with what it feels like. We're just trying to, as we breathe in and out, we're trying to take in the whole length of ourselves from root, from the base of the spine there, the perineum, between the anus and the sexual organs there, and up along what we're imagining as a central channel. We don't need to take this literally, we're just using our imaginal faculty here. Sometimes this channel is imagined as a deep blue, And it might be just in front of your spine, or it might be quite large, encompassing your spine. And it's going right up through the core of you. And it's going up. It's starting, in fact, below you, below your body, in the earth itself. And it's coming up through your body, through the core of your body, through all the major centers of the body, the sexual center there, the navel center, the heart center, throat center, brow. Probably all familiar with these so-called chakras or centers. Additionally, these each have their own kind of consciousness. So our body's got at least kind of 7 centers of consciousness in it, in this way of working, in this way of imagining the body. So when we're breathing in, we're breathing up from below us, from the earth below us. Nice, moist, dark earth, perhaps we'd like to imagine. English earth, if you're in England. I'm sitting in London, so I've got to go for a bit of London clay. Finally. Anyway, a sense of the actual earth below you. It doesn't matter if you're in a house, there's still the earth below you, isn't it? If you take 1 teaspoon full of garden earth, it has more microbes in it than the human population of the world. You can imagine how alive that earth really is. It's just literally teeming. Earth below you is literally teeming with life. We've got this living, breathing earth below us, and we're drawing up into the body, kind of earth energy. We're releasing the legs as we do this. As we release the legs, we gain a kind of stability in the posture. Stability in the posture is intimately connected with a stability of mind. If there's a lot of tension in the legs, there will always be anxiety in the awareness. So anyway, breathing in, breathing up, breathing out, releasing. We can imagine this lovely, dark, radiant blue channel going through our bodies, joining up all those centers, different centers of consciousness. Think of the root, basic survival instinct, the basic sense of being in, belonging to the world, right down there in the root chakra. And then right at the crown, you can imagine your crown perhaps a little bit open. This energy coming up through the body, more or less like a fountain or welling up through us as we breathe in and out. Nice, easy way, nice, relaxed way. Don't try and force anything to happen. It's just playful. When we do this sort of work, we should just see it as play. You don't have to see it as literally true. It's a playfulness. Let your face relax. You might remember yourself as a child, just playing. How, as a child, you were able just to be totally involved in what you were doing, totally fascinated. You still knew the difference between simple, spontaneous sort of life that we had perhaps when we were young. Nice soft face, just letting your face soften. Let's have some sense of what's above our head, the sky, the open dimension of the sky, so with body, we're making the posture between earth and sky. We're in a larger vessel, if you like. Sometimes we can work with this idea of three vessels, triple vessel. We've got the vessel of the world, which contains us and supports us. The earth below us, the world with all its life around us, and the sky above us. It's kind of the vessel of the world in which we're sitting. It supports and holds us. Then we've got the vessel of our own body, which we're just beginning to explore by just simply breathing the body. This is all we're doing really. We're just breathing the body and just starting to notice the natural energies in the body, the sensations in the body, the sensations of contact with the earth, the sensations of air against your skin, as internal sensations. Just to soften the soles of your feet a little bit, and then soften. Release the legs a little bit more if you can. The idea of giving the weight of the bones, the muscles of your legs fully to the ground. Nice broad, deep ground that holds you. That the bowl of the pelvis is really the vessel, this sort of unconscious, the netherworld, the underworld, our own sort of underworld down there in the bowl of our pelvis. Of course, in the classical Greek tradition, the underworld was a place of great riches. It was a place of shades, but it was also a place of great richness and riches. Ruled over, the Romanized version by Pluto, wasn't it? So we get this word plutocrat. Something of immense wealth. So down there in your pelvis, if you like, in the bowl of your pelvis, there's a whole richness of being, of your being. Anyway, we're just dropping the pelvis towards the earth now. Imagining the pelvis just opening a little bit, hips releasing a little bit if you can. We've got this sense of this channel as we breathe in and out, so if you can work the whole length of your body in a nice, relaxed, playful way. Come up from the root energy perhaps bubble up towards the navel center from the root, or whatever it's doing in your body, spine. You're going to come up to, in your own time, just coming up from the quite a big journey, isn't it, from the navel center up through the solar plexus to the heart center. And so we're breathing in, breathing out, imagining opening this channel, running from root to crown. Now we're going to imagine drawing up energy from below towards the heart. But at the same time, if it's not too much, again, just playfully, we're going to imagine drawing down energy from above, this energy of the sky energy, if you like, through the crown. So let this soft sky, the soft blue energy, softening the face from inside, as it were, softening the tissues of your face, the forehead, the scalp, through that nice translucent white bone of your skull into your brain, to the center of your head, into where the skull sits on top of your spine. Just opening up the crown to the sky above you. And as you breathe in and out, just letting that energy, that sky energy in from above, softening your face, bringing spaciousness. We start to experience whatever thinking or whatever thoughts we have within this vast blue spaciousness of sky mind of ours. Always empty in a sense. Anyway, drawing down through the face, through the throat. Just spend a moment with the throat. If you can just relax the throat a little bit. And down to the heart. Now we're imagining the heart being nourished from below by the rich, dark energy of the earth, and nourished from above by the spaciousness, the vastness of the sky. And coming together and are starting to mingle in the chambers of your heart. And then the heart becomes this inner vessel where these apparent dualisms, earth and sky, masculine, feminine, with apparent dualistic notions become intermingled. There's a kind of intermingling in the heart, which of course itself has two chambers. So we're just breathing in, breathing out, sort of gathering from above and below into the heart center now. The heart's got a back to it as well as a front. Remember the back of the heart. lot of African cultures, they have the expression that the future comes from behind. Your future is always behind you. It doesn't matter how intently you look out in front of you, you never see your future coming. The future always comes from behind. So you can just feel into the back of the heart and the back of your breathing body. What does it feel like? We're just starting to see if we can have an appreciation of our body as a vessel of psyche. Doesn't matter what part of your body you attend to, it will always offer you something. It will offer you sensation, even if that sensation is just a numbness. But it will always offer you not only sensation, but feelings and emotions, and quite often it will offer you images. Your body is full of images, full of memories, full of your life. We're starting to imagine the body as psyche, as a container or a vessel of psyche, of imagination. We're imagining the heart as the sort of center of this whole. Let's call it the mandala of our body. The mandala of our body has its center, the heart, our heart. And we're gathering, the heart is open to the cosmos. It's the most intimate part of us, but it's also the most universal part of us. It's the part of us that receives the influxes from the cosmos, the earth below and the sky above and the world all around us. It's directly perceived through the heart. We breathe in and breathe out. We start to experience what's really at the heart, the core of us. You might begin to notice that everything is there, the whole cosmos is there in the microcosm of your heart. The whole macrocosm is already present within you, beating heart of you, supported as it is by the wings of the lungs. So we're just breathing in, breathing out, experiencing our body. Nice soft face now, really beginning to just kind of quieten down, not really doing much anymore, we're just allowing what's happening to happen. It'd be like just to relax the face and relax the will, the intention, so just breathing. And you just notice breathing is actually an intimacy with everything. When we breathe in and out, we're intimate with the world. What's outer becomes inner. What's inner becomes outer. Just in this simple act of breathing, let the face soften a little bit more, soften down to the heart. Sense of the heart supported from underneath, sort of blossoming outward. In alchemy, one of the main symbols for the heart is the rose, the central symbol of alchemy, the rose. This plays the same part as the lotus plays in the Buddhist tradition, the alchemical tradition. Probably started in the Middle East, places where roses come from, I think. Anyway, in the European alchemical tradition, the rose often stands for the heart. And just like a rose, of course, which is nourished from below by the earth and from above by the light, by the sun. Start to imagine our own heart nourished from our own depths, our own lives, lives of our ancestors, the life of the planet itself, our heart connected down through our own bodies into the world itself. At the same time, energized by the light from above. The very light of the cosmos. Nice soft place. Just breathing in, breathing out. Aware of our body in the world. Sometimes you just get little glimpses, don't we? Realizing that our world, the world, and our body is one of the same, no different. The so-called outer and the so-called inner, it's just all the same. Life just flowing through. Drawing into your center, the heart center, and releasing from your center. Let go a little bit more in the legs, a bit of holding in the legs. Trust in the earth. Allowing the body to breathe. Allow your body to enjoy breathing. This is what bodies enjoy doing, breathing in and breathing out. I enjoy this intimacy with the world, taking the world into themselves, into the very blood, into every cell of the body, and then releasing back. Let your body enjoy its intimacy with the world, this simple, profound intimacy. Being part of the world simply through inhaling, exhaling. Going into the chamber of the heart, and then the heart, of course, along with the whole lungs and the heart. Taking this energy that you gain from breathing in around the whole of your body. Taking the world around the whole of your body. Allow your body to be activated by the sky above it, and the earth below it. This isn't an idea, this is just allowing the body to be fully present in the world. This means relaxing your face as fully as possible. Relaxing your legs as fully as possible. Just trusting in the heart there, beginning to allow yourself to be centered from the heart outwards into the world. So just noticing what's happening. If there's a lot of thinking going on, see if there's something you can relax. Or can you relax? Can you relax your legs a little bit more? Can you just relax down into the heart center? You can always ask yourself the question, how does my heart feel? Rather than what am I thinking about? How does my heart feel? The language of the heart is not conceptual thought, but if you're primarily in the heart, your conceptual thought will gradually fade and become less dominant. It's this relocation of our center from the brow or high in the body to the heart center. The language of the heart is feeling and image. You might get images, but just leave them alone. Abide with them. They come. There's always some part of the body that can be softened and opened just through the simple breath. We place this breath anywhere we want in the body, can't we? Anchor it to our normal breathing, and then we have this kind of subtle breath we can just put imaginatively wherever we want in the body. Keep it linked to your normal breathing so you are aware when you're breathing in and breathing out. So you're not over concentrating, if you like. It's quite loose. Let the body loosen. Joints and the bones nice and loose as you breathe. Softening upwards towards the sky, softening downwards towards the earth, opening to the world all around us. Become a breathing body in a breathing world. Beating heart at the center. ditthi, the first desire. In the green morning, I wanted to be a heart. In the lush evening, I wanted to be a nightingale, a nightingale. Soul, turn orange colored. Soul, turn the color of love. In the vivid morning, I wanted to be myself, a heart. At the evening's end, I wanted to be my voice, a nightingale. Soul, turn orange colored. Soul, turn the color of love. For the last minute or so, just keep a posture and just stop. uh, in your own time, you can just bring the practice to an end. And we'll have a short break. So when you're ready, you can get up and have a stretch, maybe get yourself a glass of water, or whatever you need to do. And then yeah, and then we'll come back together, and do come if you can, because you know, this, I think it's so important in these strange times to come into relationship with one another. You know, keep these a sense of solidarity with one another, so we can just come back together and sort of say hello to one another and see if there's anything any of you want to say or ask or comment or whatever. Yeah. So a few minutes just to have a stretch, and if you can, please stay with us for a bit longer. Yeah, for about 25 minutes or so.
Great stuff. So we'll aim to start at 5 minutes past 12 again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lovely.
Okay then.
Okay. I
can see that not everybody is back yet, but I'm sure they'll hear us starting up and
yeah.
and come back. We can hear you, Paramananda. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, as I said, just a chance really to connect a little bit with the people here, and I don't know if you've got. They can have gallery views if they want, can't they? So you know, you might want to have a gallery view. I don't know how these things work, to be honest. But anyway, and if you've got anything you want to say or ask, just please unmute yourself and just, or I think you can also send a message, can't they, to you, host. But yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Yes, let's see how it goes. If it gets really chaotic,
Yeah.
I'll try and pull us into line a bit. But yesterday this went pretty well. So
Yeah.
yes, just jump in and we'll see how we go.
We don't mind a little bit of chaos, do we?
It's good for us.
Hi there.
Hello.
Am I okay to ask a question?
Yes, please do.
Hi, Paramananda. I'm Ben. I'm living up in Glasgow at the moment.
Hello, Ben. Yeah, we've met, haven't we? Have we, Ben?
I don't think so.
No, okay. Maybe. Anyway, yeah, please ask away, Ben. Yeah.
I was really interested in what you were saying about Jung and alchemy.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if there are any particular books or anything like that that you thought were worth reading around that.
Well, I mean, he talks about it a bit in his own the memories, reflections, you know, nearest he got to autobiography, one of his later works. I think it's just called Memories, Reflections. He talks a bit about this encounter with alchemy and his interest in it. Sorry, I'm not very good at remembering names. I mean, there's a good book. I don't know. I can't remember who it's by. There's a book which is about Jung and James Hillman. Just James Hillman. I don't know if you know Hillman, but you know, he's another archetypal psychologist, and he's written a fantastic book called Alchemical Psychology. I think that's what it's called. it was a set of lectures to start with, a set of essays, but it's an absolutely fantastic book, very imaginative, riffing on alchemy and psychology. So he's in that Jungian tradition. I mean, it's very interesting with Jung, actually, because I don't know too much about it, but from what I understand, there's a bit of a split in the Jungian community, how seriously or how prominently they give Jung's alchemical writings, whether they, some Jungians are not, I think it's fair to say, through his life, he got more and more, what can we call it, spiritual, mystical. I'm not quite sure what was the right term, but anyway, and I think some psychologists sort of dismiss the alchemical writing. I mean, the other place to look, of course, I think that stuff in the so-called Red Book, which was a famous journal that he kept. I think there's stuff about alchemy in that as well. I can't. So I don't know. You just have to dig around, really. But I'm sure and I'm sure there's loads of stuff on the web actually these days. That you could probably find quite a lot of. If you just put in Jungian alchemy, see what you get and follow the trail, as it were. But I would recommend Hillman's writings on alchemy, which related, inspired by Jung's interest in alchemy. It's James Hillman, but yeah, sorry, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah, there's a lot out there. There's quite an active interest in alchemy as a psychological methodology, if you like. And it maps, I don't know how involved you are with Triratna, but actually the alchemical methodology maps quite well onto our own, can't even think, what do we call it? Triratna got going. System of, thank you, I've got something. I've got a prompter here with me. Thank you. Our system of practice are a bit different, but they have the same basic elements to them, really. Yeah.
Great.
I think I like alchemy, partly why I mean, it's not exclusively a Western thing at all. I mean, Taoist stuff is usually taught of, Chinese alchemy, it's an alchemical tradition, as is arguably some Tibetan Buddhist stuff you could talk about as alchemical, But I'm quite drawn to alchemy because there is this strong Western tradition that goes, right from the ancient Greeks, well, maybe even before the Egyptians, the Greeks, into the Middle East, then into Renaissance, particularly. It becomes there's a real flat blossoming of alchemy in the Renaissance, So it's part of that rediscovery of the Greek polytheism, and it's part of a real blooming of esoteric knowledge again that floods back into Europe, largely through the Arabic world, The early Islam has a lot of alchemy in it, actually, a lot of alchemists.
Thanks for a lovely meditation as well.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, Ben. Yeah, thanks for coming. I think I was going to say, I meant to say at the beginning actually, that I think in this this sort of period that we've got going on at the moment, this strange period, it's highlighted for me the importance, in a way, the importance of imaginatively cultivating a sense of solidarity with other people. And I think what a lot of people have experienced, the positive side of what's been going on, I think a lot of people have experienced a stronger solidarity with life, you know, whether it's the life in their own back garden or the trees in that park, or I think suddenly people have been experiencing this stronger solidarity with the world, with the planet, whatever language you want to use, with life. And I also think it's a real opportunity, even though we can't be embodied together in a way in the same physical space, actually a real opportunity to cultivate community and solidarity between people, you know. Somehow some sort of opportunities opened up, hasn't it? You know, well, this is my feeling about it. Actually, something's opened up for us all, as well as, you know, being obviously it's got its difficulties, but there's a real opportunity here, and the importance of coming together in this sort of way, whether it's through the auspices of Buddhafield, this wonderful aspect of Sri Ratna, Buddhafield, this wonderful jewel, I think, of Sri Ratna, really, people coming together and practicing in nature. I think preserving it in this time of shutdown or whatever we're calling it is so important, and, you know, so appreciative of Buddhafield doing this virtual festival, actually. People can come together and feel some sense of solidarity with one another and the planet, you know, the world.
I've got some questions coming in on the chat here.
Yeah.
So here's a question from Dan. Thank you for such rich imagery throughout. Just wonder if you have any suggestions for when emotions arise, like anger and sadness.
It's a kind of big question, really, because I mean, this is another aspect why I quite like the alchemical metaphor, because the first stage within the alchemical metaphor is what's known as the nigredo, or the blackening, and it is a melancholy or even a depressive state. And alchemy rescues melancholia or depression or from the pathologized medical model back into a natural human richness of experience. And from an alchemical perspective, these so-called, I mean, there's a whole, Dan suggested a whole array of different so-called negative mental states, but from an alchemical perspective, this allowing yourself to drop into this experience of the nigredo is completely essential to the whole path, because what's going on there is that the normal ego consciousness is not coping properly. And we were joking at the beginning of the session, actually, we were talking about chaos, but from a psychological point of view, from an alchemical and a psychological point of view, in fact, from the point of view of all systems, whether they're human systems or natural systems, for something to change, it's got to go into disequilibrium. Yeah, so it has to go into chaos before it can fundamentally change in any fundamental way. So from an alchemical point of view, these emotions that we were calling negative are actually signs of this kind of nigredo. And we need to, so it's a difficult question, this, because it's quite a complex question, because what first needs to be established is some kind of stability. But once there's a kind of stability established, and when I'm talking about stability, I'm really talking about the stability of the posture, but not to take that too literally. It's not really a physical stability. It's manifests through the posture, but it's a kind of stability of mind in a sense. But okay, we just call this basic mindfulness. There needs to be some basic mindfulness. But once you've got some basic mindfulness and the stability of the posture, we start to allow these so-called emotions, these so-called negative emotions, to move through us in a natural way. So, you know, in the Tibetan tradition, which, as I mentioned, in a way could be understood as an alchemical tradition, they would say, well, all these things are self-liberating. And what they mean is that if you can get to the point where you leave them alone, you experience them. But this is a tricky business. This is a tricky business, but it's not impossible. You experience them fully, so you experience them as physical, visceral reality. Your anger is not an idea. Your anger is a physical sensation. It's probably down in your belly. I don't know. You know, it might be including the heart. What happens if we have these energies which are in the body, and when the ego appropriates and tries to deal with them, it produces thoughts, doesn't it? It tries to rationalize it out. So with anger or something, it gets projected out onto other people usually. Sometimes it gets interned, obviously, into self-hatred, but very often it gets projected out into the world. And what goes along with that is a proliferation of ideas. From an alchemical perspective, we're trying to learn to sit with the process without interfering with it. Sorry, I know this is a rather complicated, long answer, but we're trying to learn to abide with it without interfering with it. So meditation becomes this kind of radical non-interference. It's a kind abiding with whatever's going on, and we just let it have its way with us in a way. But in order to be able to do that, we do have to have established some stability to start with. So this is why sometimes there's some years of practice need to happen where we're just doing a very simple mindfulness practice until we've got stability and some level of emotional positivity. And then we can allow these energies to have their way, and they will, as the Tibetans reassure us, they will just self-liberate, they will just move through us as energy. But once they become force, they become quite sticky, and we don't let them move through us. You know, they're not released. So it's a conflict, you know, I know, sorry, that was Dan I was talking to, wasn't it? It's a complicated answer, but calm abiding really is what we're going for. That we learn to calmly abide with even with these so-called difficult emotions. But I'm not suggesting it's easy. But what I would suggest is if you have a predominantly body-based way of meditating, there's always something you can do, because anger isn't just a mental state, it's a physical state. So if you've got a relaxed, aligned and relaxed body, it's very hard to sustain anger in such a body. You can't sustain anger in a deeply relaxed, aligned body. So that means if you work, rather than trying to think yourself out of anything, which is fairly useless, I think, from a meditative point of view, we're just working on opening and relaxing the body. With anger, we're particularly working on relaxing the legs, because it's quite often a fight mechanism, isn't it? Anger. If we're really angry, we want to destroy the object of the anger, or we want to get away from it. So either way, it's a fight or flight response. And that response would be on a physical level, largely found in the legs. So I'm banging on about this all the time these days. This relaxing the legs is completely essential to meditating. And most of you will find whenever there's some strong emotion going on, tension has come into the legs. So one very simple, practical thing you can do is just remember and come back and soften all the time, which kind of softening, opening, lengthening, not on a gross level. We're not sort of pulling the body about, but we're trying to feel into the body and start working with it in a very subtle way, just opening and relaxing the body. And then we can allow this material just to have its own process in us. But I'm not suggesting it's easy, but I am suggesting it is possible. And of course, you know, I'm not someone that would say that meditation is always sufficient. You know, there might be other things you have to do if you've got a lot of you know, difficult emotions. You know, you might need to work with them in different ways as well as through meditation.
Thank you, Paramananda. Thank you. Got a big thumbs up and a thanks for the in-depth response there from Dan. So much appreciated.
Good. Yeah, so I'm going to tend to go on a bit on that.
There's a couple of other things here in the chat.
Okay.
Here's more of a comment, a response. Thank you, Paramananda. It's great in terms of helping with my legs and heart, arriving here and now, and in particular, got a lot of stored energy and behavior in my legs which want to run to the past or the future. That's from Helen.
That's interesting, isn't it? That's an interesting image, isn't it?
And then Kamala D, would you like to come on and say something? You were waving earlier and I see you've left a comment as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I really loved that experience, and I've been meditating for quite a long time now. I don't know, maybe 25 years, something like that. And this felt different from anything I've ever done before. And I think it was that very sensitive, strong way that you led us in, with the colours as well. Colours very, very important, I feel, in meditation. Very powerful, very rich. I feel really excited about doing more of this. So to feel it could really reinvigorate my practice in a new way. And it seemed to me that it really helps with that, what I've been experiencing for my whole life, really, that overemphasis on the cerebral, that overemphasis on the rational that we have, particularly in Western society. And as I've put in the chat box, I've got this real sense that bringing the heart in, I feel really moved saying it, is going to really help address this diversity issue that we're all struggling with. It's really big.
I mean, well, it's very moving hearing you say that. I mean, I don't know when it was a long time ago now. I was suddenly struck by how, in a lot of Western teaching of meditation, the heart is hardly mentioned. You know, it's hardly mentioned. Even in the teaching of the Metta Bhavana, sometimes it's hardly mentioned. You know? And yet, of course, as an image or as a metaphor, but also as a physical organ, actually, they're finding out that the heart plays a completely pivotal and crucial role in our mental life. I won't go into this at the time, but there's some very, very interesting medical, mainstream medical research going on, which is starting to show that the heart actually regulates a lot of brain activity with the release of various chemicals and hormones. So this symbolic emphasis, which is so strong in our Western culture, of the heart being central to our perception of beauty, our perception of truth, our ability to love ourselves and love other people. The heart, it's got to be, even the word heart, isn't it? Even the word heart means the center of things, the heart of things. And to meditate without the heart is just crazy. It's just crazy. And I think you're totally right to say, well, we don't realize how much our center shifted into this conceptual. It's fantastic to have a conceptual mind. It's fantastic to be able to think, and absolutely fantastic, but it shouldn't be the center of us. The center of us is our heart. And this I mean this as a physical thing. As a meditator, we need to learn what it feels like to meditate from the heart, rather than all this thinking. Thinking's fantastic in its place. I love it. But it's not meditating.
So thank you.
Well, thank you. It's lovely to hear you speak.
Oh, great. Well, we've just gone over the 1/2 mark. So,
Have we? Oh, well.
sadly, like, I kind of get that feeling that you're just starting and you're like, I gotta finish.
I know. We're just getting going, aren't we?
Yeah.
But never mind.
Never mind. So I just want to extend a really, really warm thank you to Paramananda for everything you've given us over the last couple of days. It's been of such great benefit to not just to us here in this space, but everybody who's watching on Facebook Live. And of course, these sessions have been recorded, so people who couldn't make it will be checking in later. So really, really appreciate everything you've given us here, Paramananda, and everybody else for coming and being part of this space together, that kind of mutual.
And you. For your hosting. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
So do unclick your microphones and just shout out some thanks and connection on your way out, so we can all hear each other.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Thank you.
Great to see you all.
Thanks, Paramananda.
Good.
Brilliant.
Okay, good.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Hopefully, we'll meet in the field one day, hopefully.
Next time.
The literal field rather than the virtual field.
Thank you. Have an excellent weekend. Cheers, Paramananda. You're a star. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Evelyn.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Take care.
I love this. There's like less people and their faces get bigger. We're down to 6 on the screen now.
I don't want to go.
No, yeah, understandable.